Hello, thank you all for being here. I think we're all here for the Howard Lutnick interview. We're looking forward to that.
This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. I assume way back when they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits. It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
He was sounding off about how Epstein, his former neighbor, might use videos or, quote, blackmail against government officials. A type of government wrongdoing, possible crime, if it includes blackmail or trade in government services. I mean, people could go to jail for that. And he's referencing a deal that was struck by a later Trump official, Alex Acosta. The allegations of blackmail and dirty dealing to protect Epstein over alleged videos is coming from inside the Trump cabinet.
This case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserve the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability.
Case, will you commit to making sure that there's a full and thorough investigation into the way DOJ handled the Epstein case?
So, Senator, I have to recuse myself from Kirkland and Ellis matters, I am told, and I think Kirkland and Ellis was maybe involved in that case, so I need to sort out exactly what my role can be.
Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures, but you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable.
They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did.
It is shocking that the department did not redact the names of Epstein's victims, but it did redact the names of their abusers.
It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize.
Please
my
sit in my
time,
chair.
and when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman is reclaimed
I'm
her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath.
Trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. You need to get on these matters.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus, this is a hearing.
Pushing politics aside and everyone else aside, some of the victims of Epstein have expressed frustration with the entire process. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to them.
Well, I don't know what you're speaking to. I mean, if there's frustration with, quote, the entire process, same here. For many, many years, nobody even breathed a word about Jeffrey Epstein, and then all of a sudden it was all anybody would talk about going into the last spring and summer. To the extent that there's frustration, I understand where that comes from, just from what we know about Mr. Epstein.
I want to go on to the Epstein investigation. Is it closed or open?
When you say the Epstein investigation, what are you referring to, Senator?
Well, the FBI said in last year in July that it had closed the Epstein investigation. So I'm just using their words. Is it open or closed?
I don't believe the FBI said that.
Well,
I mean, if you're referring,
you're head of the Department of Justice. Is the Epstein investigation open or closed?
But I guess I don't understand what Epstein investigation means. The investigation,
well, let me put it
Jeffrey Epstein himself, yes, he's dead. If we learn information any day, whether if it's 5 years from now, if we learn information from a victim or learn other evidence that allow us to charge anybody associated with Epstein's crimes, we'll charge it. So the big misconception is that the Department of Justice or me has ever said case closed. From the information that we have within the Epstein files, we do not have a case against anybody.
The government needs to take responsibility for endangering and injuring girls and young women. Had the FBI done their job, 30 years of child sex abuse and trauma could have been avoided. We also need the FBI and the Department of Justice to fully investigate every lead in this case. We need investigation and prosecution of everyone responsible, both men and women. This includes the officials who enabled the 2008 sweetheart deal, the other perpetrators and the many co-conspirators, and anyone who is currently shielding powerful individuals from justice. No more protection for the guilty.
Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador, who was shaking hands with him over a trade deal. He's today been forced to resign from the House of Lords, the upper house of the British Parliament, over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Just wondered if you had any reaction to that, since obviously he was...
I didn't know about it, but I really don't know too much about it. I know who he is. It's too bad.
Because the truth of the matter is this Department of Justice, okay, starting with President Trump, who signed the Transparency Act, has done more when it comes to the Epstein files than any administration in history. Okay, so the first Trump administration prosecuted Epstein. This administration released all the files, and that's not something that didn't satisfy some lawmakers who really wanted there to be a different narrative. Oh, we covered up for President Trump. No, we didn't.
What is up, everybody? What is up? How are y'all doing on this Monday evening? I can see that YouTube has done their very best to tank this topic, and that's okay. That's okay as long as people see this content at some point and this information gets out there. That's what's important. You're watching the Gabriel Speaks podcast. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Share the podcast, share the channel, share the video, whatever you feel inspired to do. It really helps us out here, and we appreciate it. We are talking about a phrase that you've heard kicked around for the last few months, and that is actionable intelligence. Actionable intelligence. And we've heard it a lot when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein case. What is actionable intelligence? Well, let me see if I can get out of the way here. Actionable intelligence, if you look for the definition, is information that is specific, credible, timely, and detailed enough that a person or organization can take a concrete action in response to it. A person or organization can take a concrete action or a specific action in response to the information. And what we're going to talk about today are the multitude. And this is part one because there's so much information out there. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to have Flak Magnet joining us soon. But the amount of actionable intelligence, especially to come out in the last couple of weeks, we've heard from the victims. We've heard from Todd Blanche again doing an interview. We've heard from Todd Blanche again during an appropriations hearing where he was trying to get the appropriations bill for the Department of Justice passed, and ran into a little bit of hot water there because although the $1.9 billion fund for the folks that demonstrated, I guess that's what we call it now, on January 6th, he's getting a lot of heat for that. So it got passed, but there's a lot of senators, if you watch the hearing, if you watch the full interview, that aren't really stoked about it, even from his own party. It seems like kind of a slush fund that the president's just going to get to pick and choose who gets us money. I don't know. It's super weird. But what we're talking about tonight, in the last year, we've seen more information come out, I think, that I can remember on a case. Right? I mean, there's these popular cases they talk about, what's the guy that killed his family? I mean, that's a real popular one. The Mendez brothers, there's all these popular law and order criminal cases. But you don't see a lot of breakdown. You hear them talk about actionable intelligence, but you don't hear specifically what they mean when they say that. So we showed you the definition before, and in part 1, we're going to try, mind you, to provide some insight into just these pieces of what I believe were actionable intelligence. That means a tip or piece of information that a law enforcement or government official got that they did nothing with. The first one is that Maria Farmer reported the Epstein to the FBI in 1996. And Maria has had all kinds of health issues, surprise, surprise, since her coming forward on this. And in 96, she went to her local law enforcement, who then referred her to the FBI. She went to the FBI, and they basically shot her down. And I'm going to let Maria put it in her own words here in just a moment. We had the Palm Beach police report. This is a report where if you don't just watch and read the headlines, if you actually read the articles, you find out Alex Acosta was blaming the local law enforcement for not bringing a charge that would put Mr. Epstein in jail. Well, that narrative was challenged by the very law enforcement official that Alex Acosta spoke about. He says they had a 53-page indictment that included all kinds of charges against not just Epstein, but others. We have Maxwell repeatedly named in the cases, though she got her 20-year sentence and her slap on the wrist jail cell now for, we're going to hear Todd Blanche talk about it here in a moment, testifying and giving absolutely no new information on the case. The FBI drafted a federal indictment. There was the Alex Acosta 07-08 Non-Prosecution Agreement, where there's several questions that surround that. There's something that Flak is very excited to dig into, and that is that banks filed suspicious activity reports for years on Jeffrey Epstein. Not for 1 or 2 months. Not just after he faced charges. Well before he faced any of the terrible charges. He was part of pyramid schemes. We know this. So we have these banks that have filed suspicious activity reports for years. That is fraud, ladies and gentlemen. And really at the highest levels in that amount of money. We had pictures come out that put Epstein with possible blood diamond movers in the late 80s and 90s. We have multiple government officials that are not willing to say if he did not work for an intelligence agency. And even if they won't say he worked for an intelligence agency, they have a big question about it. Gee, what intelligence agency could that be, y'all? Not just Maria Farmer. We had other complaints before 2005. And then, this is the cherry on top, there was evidence that was removed before certain search warrants were served. It's unbelievable. This is just the first little piece that we're going to try to go over today. So we're going to get back to the video and the creepy AI live of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, Jizz Face Maxwell, I like to call her. And we are going to take a look at, there was some recent testimony, okay? Many of the survivors came forward over the last couple of weeks and told their stories. And we're going to look at some of the highlights, specifically Maria Farmer, because Maria Farmer, as we see, filed this case with the FBI in 1996. She was led down this path of resolution. In fact, I'm going to let her tell the story herself. It's absolutely disgusting and a complete letdown of our FBI. A total, like, they dropped the fucking ball. Now, you could argue if that's for a reason or not, and that's what we love to speculate on. But the one thing we do know is that they fucked up. They could have literally stopped hundreds of kids, kids, from these monsters. And they sat by and did nothing. And the craziest part is, since the guy has died in his cell, the U.S. is the only country where these people live that were in these files that aren't being investigated. It is tragic. And it says a lot about the current state of things. So let's listen to some of this survivor testimony. And then we're going to hear just bits and pieces from a woman named Katie Johnson that made some pretty astounding claims against our president. Now, she had a witness. She actually had two witnesses. It is said they were threatened and they dropped the charges. That would not shock me. I will reach out to her legal team if they're still in existence and see if that's the case, but it would not shock me if they can share that information with us. And then we have people saying the FBI withheld this report from us. It's unbelievable. So we're going to check this out and talk a little bit more.
2008.
Actually, we're not going to check this one out. My bad, y'all. We're going to check this one out.
Here's some opening testimony from survivors and advocates who will speak about the failure of our justice system to protect them, others, and certainly to hold Epstein and so many others accountable. We're going to hear from Danny Bensky. Danny was abused by Jeffrey Epstein in 2004 and 2005 when she was just 17 years old. Rosa is testifying under her first name and under that name only, just for her own safety. She was recruited in Uzbekistan by a modeling agent, co-conspirator, and brought to the U.S. with promises of a career.
Okay, right there. This is not made up. This is a graphic from a show Flak and I did months ago. This is what they did to victims. These girls They thought they were going to be models. And they were put in touch with this outer circle around Epstein and Maxwell. Sarah Kellen had 150 calls, over 150 calls with one of them, y'all. They would get them here on a green card. They would get their green card and essentially hold them hostage and sell them. So when Kash Patel says there was no evidence of trafficking, he is lying. And that's crazy, because that's a guy for years that went around telling about how if he had this job, he would tell the truth. That's not the truth. Here's another graphic that we worked on. You can go back. You can look at our stuff. This is not new. This is what they did to these models. They got them stuck here. They get them in these apartments or these islands. They take away their ID and their ability to make money elsewhere or leave the situation. And then they would send over rich, powerful men with a you-know-what implied. It's what they did.
She met Jeffrey Epstein in 2009 and was abused over several years. With her immigration status used to keep her from leaving, from Courtney Wild, who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein in Palm Beach beginning at the age of 14. She later brought a lawsuit against the federal government over the Non-Prosecution Agreement that allowed Epstein to avoid federal charges.
And I want to say this right now because this has been going around too. If you think Epstein is a psyop against President Trump, you can fuck right off out of here. That's my thought on it. These are real victims.
Also going to hear from Jenna Lisa Jones, who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein in Florida when she was 14 years old. Maria Farmer, who's the first person to report Jeffrey Epstein's abuse to authorities in 1996. Guy and Amanda Roberts are here. We will continue, of course, to honor Virginia's memory, her legacy, and her tireless fight for justice. Maria Farmer wanted folks to hear about, and so we're going to go ahead and. So Ms.
My
Farmer
name is Maria Farmer. I am the whistleblower who reported Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Les Wexner, and others to the FBI 30 years ago in 1996. I was not well enough to attend this hearing in person and have recently been released from the hospital. That's the result of 30 years of fighting. I reported what I believed were heinous crimes against children, and these individuals responsible were involved in an international pedophile ring. I reported their crimes in real time, and the government continues to ignore me to this day. In 1996, I reported Epstein and his co-conspirators to my local New York City 6th precinct. The commanding officer told me local police could only address the local arson crimes, and he instructed me to immediately report the whole story, spanning several states, to the FBI. He told me that it was vitally important that I tell the whole story to the FBI, which I did. The FBI asked me questions, said they were familiar with some of the perpetrators I identified, and gave me every reason to believe they would respond. That failure, that single moment when law enforcement refused to take action, set off a cascade of injustice and grave repercussions to my sisters, my family, and so many others, and to me personally, including my health and well-being. The FBI's decades of failure and inaction led to countless more girls and young women suffering abuse and trauma that could have been prevented. Individuals like Virginia Giuffre, Anushka DeGiorgio, Shantae Davies, Marika Chartoni, Danny Bensky, Jenna Lisa Jones, Ashley Rubright, and Jennifer Rose, among others. Each survivor represents a life changed forever. The failures did not stop there. In 2006, the FBI tracked me down, stating that they searched for me because they knew I had reported Epstein 10 years earlier and no one else had. They urged me to testify in a federal criminal trial against Epstein and his co-conspirators, and they promised that they would get him this time. I trusted them again, relied upon them again, and they betrayed me again. The government offered Epstein a sweetheart deal and shielded powerful individuals from accountability, and they persist in granting special treatment to certain people to this day. I have received death threats from Maxwell and her associates, including one instance where they threatened to burn my apartment down. And those threats have not stopped. My numerous efforts to obtain my 1996 report from the FBI have been rejected.
So this bitch is petting her puppy dog at her prison after R-ing a bunch of kids. And her team is sending this sick woman death threats. Fucking, and Maxwell, I swear to God, if she gets pardoned, oh my Lord, y'all should be just as mad as I would be.
Time and again. In 2023, I wrote a letter to the government asking for an investigation of the government's actions or inactions in response to my 1996 report. The Inspector General replied saying they were busy with other things, would get back to me, and they never did. In January 2025, in response to my most recent request, the government said that they would get back to me in November of 2027.
Okay, so she gives the report. A decade goes by. They come back. They say, hey, we want you to testify. We want to get this prosecuted. And then they bail on her again. This is why the FBI isn't supposed to be political. A criminal charge is a criminal charge. It doesn't matter who it's against. It doesn't matter. The FBI investigates crime, not people you hate, to catch a crime, right? They get tips on crime. They investigate the crime. They don't say, hey, go find this guy doing some crime. We don't like him. That's what Edgar Hoover did to MLK, and we all decided that wasn't okay, because what if that was you? It's the same playbook, and it sucks because the FBI has done so many good things for investigation. But on this issue, you have these powers that be pulling the strings. They are calling in all the favors. And they are bamboozling us.
A delay of 3 years. I finally received a letter saying they looked at my complaint, took some kind of action, and the matter was addressed, but what they did was a secret.
Okay, ma'am, we addressed your issue, but it's a secret.
With the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, after years of efforts to get my records, an FD 71 form was released for the first time, confirming just a small part of my 1996 whistleblower report and vindicating some of what I had said for years. Where is the evidence I provided of my sexual assault and that of my sister Annie? Why won't the FBI release my full report? The failures of those sworn to protect us have overwhelmed me. Doing my civic duty has cost me dearly. The stress of this trauma, the government hiding and refusing to turn over written confirmation of my 96 report, along with the ongoing harassment and death threats, have contributed to me developing serious health issues, including Hodgkin's lymphoma, a brain tumor, and recently Addison's disease. So many others had their dreams shattered by these crimes, and they could have been prevented. Individuals like Virginia Jeffrey, who is the backbone of this case and remains the inspiration behind this fight. She's the reason my sister and I came forward publicly so we could stand together. She faced also relentless attacks to her credibility online, yet she fought. While Virginia may no longer be physically beside us, she's been our shining star and guiding light and remains so today. The rest of humanity owes it to her legacy to continue this quest. We are still walking down the trail that Virginia blazed for us, so let me be direct about what we need. The federal government owes us explanations, accountability for injuries caused, and a promise of systemic change when crimes against children are reported. Accountability should start with the government's acknowledgement and responsibility for their repeated failures to act in response to my 1996 report. The government needs to take responsibility for endangering and injuring girls and young women. The government needs to start telling the truth, face my lawsuit, and be held to account to me and to all others who have been harmed. Had the FBI done their job, 30 years of child sex abuse and trauma could have been avoided.
Oh my God, y'all, that should make you so fucking mad. That should just, 3-0. 30 years of this was allowed to go on. And it still goes on. We know it does. Just a different group doing different shit. They could have shut down this Epstein and Maxwell bullshit high school fucking pimp game they had going on. They could have shut that shit down in 2005. They were getting reports of it in 2003. High school girls? You don't investigate rich men having high school girls come to their mansion in Florida? Is that how it goes in Florida? I don't know. I'm not from Florida. Y'all tell me. Rich old men can just have little high school girls over at their house and pay them $200 for a rub down, half naked. I'm not from Florida. I don't know. You can't do that shit here where I'm from. They're fucking kids. And if you have a daughter, you know this shit is wrong. And we're just supposed to sit by and let these guys handle it. And I have made it very clear. I think all presidents, I'll say, okay, not all, I'll say a good 90% may have had good intentions at one point, but they get in that position and they sell out one way or the other. They have to stay alive. That's what they do. They make a pledge to one side or the other and they stay alive that way. And when you have both sides, they had people partying with this piece of shit on his island. They are calling in all the favors, all the friends. Remember that How to Be a Millionaire phone a friend? That's what they were doing. Oh, fuck, Judge Hank owes me a favor. I got his son out of a rough one a few years ago. Hold on. Hank, need you back off that prosecution there. I don't know. Maybe those files could just accidentally disappear. What do you think? That's how this shit happens. That's how this woman goes unheard for 30 years. And if there is a way, an official way to help her, and you feel so compelled, please do.
We also need the FBI and the Department of Justice to fully investigate every lead in this case. We need investigation and prosecution of everyone responsible, both men and women.
God, what she's asking for is so out of control, isn't it? It's almost like she's asking for these investigators to do their job and protect kids. So weird. I mean, how dare she?
This includes the officials who enabled the 2008 sweetheart deal, the other perpetrators and the many co-conspirators, and anyone who is currently shielding powerful individuals from justice. No more protection for the guilty. There must be no pardoning or commuting the sentence of Maxwell, who sexually abused me, my minor sister, hurt so many girls and other young women, and personally threatened to kill me, has shown no remorse and has demonstrated no basis on which to believe she would ever be truthful.
Donald Trump.
Okay. Now, it has recently come out that the FBI withheld this and possibly other cases that were brought against Donald Trump from the Epstein files. Am I saying this happened? Nope. But I'm saying it was reported. And you don't have to take my word for it. Ask your AI, do your Google searches, look up the Katie Johnson Donald Trump lawsuit. She had 2 witnesses willing to testify. All of a sudden, they all drop out. That's kind of weird.
At some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. There was about 3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump. I was 13. Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties. Jeffrey Epstein knew that I was 13 years old. When he interviewed me, he asked me to get down to my bra, just my panties, and I thought that was weird, but I mean, modeling, maybe it was something about my figure. And he asked that I give him a massage. So and then he asked me my age. He asked me, and I told him, told him that I was 13. I told him why I was there. And he basically said, well, you'll do, I'm sure that you'll fit pretty nicely here. And then he tried to basically slip himself inside of me. They all looked, most of them were, my age. There was, maybe a couple girls that were maybe 14 or 15, but it seemed to me like we were all very young. Because at that point in time, I still believed that there was models, and then there was the girls that did that. Like, I thought there was a separation. The first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance.
Now listen, I want to tell you, I edited this very heavily, okay? The unredacted version, all it takes is a YouTube search if you need to hear all that, but it gets pretty nasty. And I cut most of the nasty out. So even though what you're about to hear is a little shocking, understand this was one of the less shocking things that was said.
And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. My recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. The recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. And as far as Donald Trump, he knew that I was 13, and I believe that Tiffany told him,
no one touches his head. No one touches his head without a glove. Not a one.
He seemed to take a liking to me because I was so young, and I was also a virgin. So
I can't
to making sure that
I was so young and I was a virgin, so he seemed to take a liking of me. Mr. Flak Magnet, what do you think of that?
I think it's terrible. Terrible. Burn them all, dude. Okay, I got a big old bonfire I've been working on. It's about 16 blocks long. It's in the shape of one of those data centers. And it's where we can just put all these guys. They just make a wood chipper that big. We can fucking handle this problem.
Oh, buddy. It's a little unbelievable. Now, this is Todd Blanche making an appearance on Cuomo. Apparently, Cuomo promised to give him a couple of softball questions here, and so he decided to go on Cuomo.
The question is,
now this is right after saying that the FBI was just accused of withholding Trump documents during the Epstein release. Shocker, right?
Oh, I am absolutely shocked.
I'm pretty sure we reported on this like 3 months ago, but okay.
But 300 times, I think, each time, too. It's not like there was a little. It was a lot. It was so much.
Folks, we tell you what's going on, I promise. Okay, so here is Mr. Cuomo lobbing Mr. Blanche a few softballs up to hit.
Why haven't I seen it? Then they put out these interviews of someone. The AG comes out and says, incredible. Well, not the AG. The press secretary comes out and says this woman was a liar with a criminal past and there was nothing there. Help me understand something for the audience, Todd. This is my last thing because I get asked about this all the time. What did they do with what that young woman said to them happened? I'm not saying you, because it didn't happen on your watch. Yeah. But why are we supposed to believe she wasn't credible, there was nothing to it, and yet they interviewed her multiple times?
Well, basically, they believed 15-year-olds were prostitutes. That's what they said, right? Let's not beat around the bush. That's what these prosecutors were treating them like. They were.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah,
hello.
they were treating them like they were prostitutes. I could hear you, buddy. Now I can't.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
You're good, bud.
Yeah, no, it's wild. They can even call them that. To call someone who technically has no ability to consent, it's fucking crazy.
They're children. They're children, right? Like, in the eye of the law, in the eye of any parent that has a 14-year-old or 13-year-old.
Well, what the fuck did Quentin Tarantino say? He said some dumb shit while talking about Roman Polanski, about the 13-year-old party girls, which just listen to the fucking thing. You don't even got to play it. I think we might get struck. But
I might blow a blow at my top if I hear something silly like that. I mean, I have found what some people call them the highlights. I call them the lowlights over the last few weeks in the news, other than the survivors getting their chance to tell their story, even though that probably got like record low viewership, right? Because nobody wants to hear the survivor's story. They just are here for the headlines. So anyway,
sensationalism.
Right. So okay, so here's Cuomo continuing with Mr. Blanche, the president's the Attorney General of the United States.
Listen, that is a great question. Not only about that woman, but about any witness that comes forward. And it's an important question. And I don't in any way, I don't begrudge you for asking it. And here's the answer. They investigated. So these are trained men and women of FBI. Some of them were state troopers, and they investigated and they tested. Because if you're going to charge somebody with a crime, if you're going to take away somebody's liberty, if you're going to.
Okay, but this is what's crazy. Everything Katie Johnson talked about checks. It all checks. The parties, the timeline, the people, it all checks. Not only was it not investigated, they didn't include it in the Epstein files. That's fucking... Don't want to blow my top.
Try to see if a crime took place, especially years ago. You have to test it. So somebody comes in and says and says something that happened. You listen to them and then you test it. And I wasn't there. You're right, and neither was any of the folks that are part of this administration now. But we do see is that there was and by the way, it's all in the files now. Anybody can look at it and question the decisions that the agents made at the time when they determined it wasn't credible. But and if folks want to say that's not true, it was credible.
There's literally full pages of those files where the whole thing is black.
A ton of them fucking things. Ton of them. I like how Gmail is set up, just because of the easiness that you can go through each document drop they've listed, and like thousands upon thousands in each drop been like fully redacted.
Yeah, we got a couple we're gonna look at from J-Web that are or J Mail, I'm sorry, that are pretty interesting. One between himself and Mark Iverson, one too redacted, but discussing Robert Maxwell and Jizzface Maxwell's possible involvement with intelligence.
Go ahead and say it. The information's in the files for everybody to read. But they made a decision at the time that there was nothing to move forward on. And like I said, Chris, and this is a sad fact about these types of cases, the prosecutors, the career line prosecutors in Florida and in New York, talked to hundreds of victims. They did. And does that mean that every one of them provided evidence that they could act on? Unfortunately, no. I mean, that's the result.
But
that's
the evidence
what happens.
you do have, you cocksucker.
You interview
the
Ghislaine
evidence
Maxwell.
You do have.
I don't care.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not the only one yelling it. I mean, what are you talking about? You have tranches of evidence. I don't use the word tranches very often.
But that's all you can describe this as. A trench.
That's all I can say.
A trench.
Right.
It actually describes a trench filled with evidence, which is a lot of fucking evidence. If you can fill a trench, you know what I mean?
A lot. You can't even go through it. Listen, okay, I'm going to share this here. This is, again, from J-Mail. We are singing its praises. This is, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. This is Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, to who? We don't know. It's blanked out. Robert Maxwell threatened Mossad. EI told them that unless they give him $400 million to save his crumbling empire, he would expose all he had done for them. In that time, he had free access to Margaret Thatcher's Downing Street, Ronald Reagan's White House, to the Kremlin, and to the corridors of power throughout Europe. Maxwell passed on all secrets he learned to Mossad in Tel Aviv. In turn, they tolerated his excess, vanities, and insatiable appetite for luxurious lifestyle and women. He told his controllers who they should target and how they should do it. He appointed himself as Israel's unofficial ambassador to the Soviet bloc. Now, that almost reads like he's impressed.
Yeah, that sounds like fucking bragging, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another one. Let me get this pulled up here. This was between himself and Mark Iverson. And I think, let me get it added to the screen here. Okay. It was nice talking with you. I called to report the following 3 items. While going to meet political candidate Bill Richardson in Albuquerque at a hotel in the fall of '82, I met Ghislaine. She was a bright, beautiful college girl who had graduated from Oxford University and a pilot. I was invited to see a ranch near Santa Fe, but I refused because I was both married and unable to afford the property. She pointed out her boyfriend, Jeffrey, coming into the room. I left. 1982 is roughly a decade. Mass people thought she was in the United States. Within a week, I was warned she was a spy and to stay away from her. Years later, I also heard that she is a submarine pilot. Mother decade of abuse is possible. Now, what does mother decade of abuse mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Can you throw that in your AI or something? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, sure.
Mother decade of abuse. Did he mean another decade of abuse is possible? I don't know. A second black book that was found on the streets of New York is now reported on the internet. Exhibits STM Undisputed Facts PDF. EpsteinBlackBook.com. It has Ghislaine's siblings in England. And of course, she is one of the daughters of Robert Maxwell, publisher. 2 of her sisters lead a company for United States Department of Justice software. Did you just hear what I said? 2 of Ghislaine's siblings in England lead a company for the United States Department of Justice software. A backdoor to the software is suspected. Robert was given a state funeral in Israel after his tragic death. I suspect Robert, Ghislaine, and Jeffrey were all Mossad agents trying to blackmail leaders in the political and financial world. At the end of the second Black Book, an organizational chart details his East 65th Street operation with potential co-conspirators and the physical location of the apartment for models. The chart may also help your investigation and your case. While visiting my brothers in the late 80s, we were driving north of Manchester, New Hampshire on I-95. I looked from the passenger seat to the car to the next lane, and I saw Ghislaine. I wondered what she was doing in the woods of New Hampshire. And they only seemed to appreciate big cities like London, Paris, New York, Miami, and Santa Fe. We followed their car from a distance to the house we arrested her 2 years ago, but did not enter the driveway and drove on. I remember tucked away, laser engraved on a rock at the entrance. Laser engraved rocks are not common. Ownership of this house over the years may be complicated. The price, $235,000 paid several years ago, seems too low for a large house and a 30 to 40 acres of land. In confidence, be careful.
That sounds like, oh man, there were a few Franklin scandal had things like that where it was random estates and random apartments and random things that were rented out for the abuse. And Paul Benaki, a bunch of the kids who had been involved in that want to give testimony to like all these kinds of places. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is.
So what are your personal thoughts on him being some type of an intelligence agent or asset?
Oh, he was too good at gathering blackmail and compromise, and not to be, but I don't think he was the head honcho. Like, Ghislaine had, it's weird. The U.S., he was the big bad man. In the U.K., it would have been Ghislaine who had all the royals in her pocket. You know what I mean?
Called the shots.
Yeah, and I think you go to France, you had Jean-Luc Brunel. But he was still kind of like an underling of Les Wexner in the United States, depending upon which venture you want to discuss, you know?
Yeah, that guy, yet another very questionable character for sure.
What prison she's in. You guys make arrangements with people to talk to you all the time. This is not new to me. I'm not going to make it something new. But how can it be that there is anything to know here and that Ghislaine Maxwell isn't going to offer it up when her life is in the balance? The only way she gets out is if the president decides to pardon her, which I can't believe he would do, or she gives you something bigger. Then
see, I like the road that he's going down, except he's misguided, right? Because they already moved her into puppy prison. Remember the one they let her pet dogs and it's like low security and she'll be out in 10 fucking years?
The storyline that these guys are going with, that Blanche is going with, is that Department of Corrections, they move people around all the time. It has nothing to do with when he visited. She was receiving threats before he got there. They decided to move her, and it had nothing to do with his conversation that he had with her.
Well, she had her own connections in Texas. That's where the prison that she's in now is, right? So I wonder if it has anything to do with her little school board connections and shit out there that we covered on. Remember when we were digging into Terramar and we covered the school teachers of Texas?
There's a lot more to go on Terramar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I wonder if she's got like all sorts of things we don't really fully understand, because that's also where Zora Ranch was. That's where Don Huffines is, the one who bought that fucking ranch and then didn't want to let police search it.
Yeah, I mean, and we're missing around half of the available documents, and the documents we have are heavily redacted. So we do not have a clear picture of this. And for these guys to go around and act like, hey, we've done everything, we provided everything, y'all are tripping. Like, that is gaslighting. They have not provided everything. There are other countries that have made arrests. There are other countries that have dethroned people. There are other countries that have fired people. We haven't done shit. Not a thing to any of these people.
she
And there's
wasn't.
so much, dude. There's so much shit. There's so much fucking shit.
There's so much, like I said, that's why I'm calling this part 1, because there's so much actionable intelligence in these reports. It'll make your head spin. You'll get lost in it. There's so much. There were so many things that they could have investigated.
Different types of things. The trafficking, right? That's one. But then all of the operations, money, the money behind the scenes, moving in and out of fucking banks, like
laundering,
internationally. The
blood
bribery,
diamonds.
the blood diamonds. Oh, the blood diamonds. He actually. Oh, we don't even have to get into that one this time. But we'll get into the fucking blood diamonds. He owns 17 mines in his one apartment in Manhattan alone.
Yeah, that's
that's allegedly, folks. All right, I made that one up. But he did other bad things. Did
I was
the
gonna
other
say, I don't
things.
know about that, but I do know that there have been some photographs that have come out that show him in some very interesting environments with folks that you might consider in the blood diamond trade.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's
he had
on the
in
record.
his safes when they were doing the inventory checks, and he had a ton of jewels, diamonds, and all that shit. And then he left to a bunch of the women a ton of fucking jewelry too. So like he just a bunch of wacky shit with that fucking guy.
Right. Picture how bad it was for those people if you saw that movie Blood Diamond and then multiply that by about 100. That's how bad it really is.
I think that's the one where they put like they did that goat, and they try to bring it across the lines. Probably did that with some of these.
That movie was wild. Another wild one by DiCaprio for sure. Okay, let's continue with these guys.
In the mix.
Yeah.
Did she suggest anything like that to you?
Here she's facing 20 years in prison. If she has something, this is when she will give it up. And I went down there myself with an FBI agent and with witnesses, of course, and talked to her for a day and a half. And every word that I asked her is recorded and available to the public. And
when I talked to her, I said, Ghislaine. So listen. This is bullshit. I'm not saying Todd Blanche isn't a good lawyer, but he's not really a good liar, you know? And that's kind of part of being a good lawyer, isn't it? It's sort of weird.
every word that she's answered is a transcript, has been created of every single word, and everybody in this country can read what I asked and what she said, and she didn't offer evidence of that you're talking about that we could act on and that we could then potentially bring a.
She didn't give him shit, dude. I listened to so much of that recording, and I was going to go through and edit it all for everyone to listen to. And I got through the first tape and I got halfway through the second tape, and I was like, she's not going to.
She didn't give out shit.
This is a waste of time.
Dude, she didn't give out shit during the original trial. Who was it on Twitter? Because I didn't watch. I wasn't on Twitter at the time, but I was watching all the YouTube streams that like covered his work. Mm-hmm. But it was something press. But he went to, because it was closed door, so you had to bring in like a memo pad and a pen and write down like what she said, what the lawyers asked. Right. So he did that. I wish I remember the name of it. He does great work. He did the same shit for the P. Diddy one.
Okay. We'll find him. Interesting. So yeah. I mean.
Oh, but the point of that was that she didn't say shit during that either. Both her and Epstein were like, I plead the fifth, experts on that.
Yeah, it's hours and hours of her talking and not saying anything of use, and him obliging her. And then she later goes to a nicer prison.
I do not recall. And then being questioned about something. Dude, she'll be questioned about something 20 minutes later, be shown evidence that it happened. And then she would go, oh, well, that was just this. You didn't remember 5 minutes ago. Now you remember perfectly, you fucking lunatic.
Just that one time. That one time you caught her on tape.
Straightforward shooting weekend at Sandringham. That was with the fucking Prince. First off, there are at least 4 names that I can pull off the top of my head. And I'll go 3 just because I'm super confident to use. Les Wexner, Jean-Luc Brunel, Glenn Dubin, and Prince Andrew. Yes. Those were all full-on straight-up named by Virginia and Maria.
I downloaded a trailer for the John-Luc Brunel documentary. I think it's been pulled, but I have the trailer, and now I'm just deciding whether I should show it or not, or if they'll cancel my stream because I show it. But
Dude, we do that one on maybe X. And
because
then,
it's shocking. They try to make him look like a hero.
Really?
Oh yeah, buddy. Oh yeah, it's shocking. Like, I'll show you when we have a one-on-one sometime. I'll show you what's up. It's crazy.
Oh man, that's wild. Because like, hey, there's just so much evidence for these fuckers doing really bad shit.
Yeah, they're like, basically, he was
that's
just a genius ahead of his time, Flak. That's all.
Case against somebody that hadn't been prosecuted yet, and the reasons why I went there is exactly what you said, Chris, because you had this feeling amongst Americans that there was something unfinished, that there was somebody out there that needed to be held accountable, and the one woman that was there that we had access to was Ms. Maxwell, and so I went down and talked to her, and she didn't get a benefit.
And he's been slowly trying to grow this narrative that, well, you're just not getting the closure you're used to because he killed himself in a prison. So it's just hard for people to believe it could just be one guy. That's all.
Man, just to think that we're that fucking stupid.
They
like,
do. Most people are.
I don't even think he thinks that. I think he hopes that. He's like, just please be this stupid. Please be this stupid.
A lot of people are, brother. A lot of people
everyone at least that I talk to is all on board with they fucked this one up and more people need to go to jail. You know, like no one's on their side that I've seen. You know, maybe Dan Bongino still has his head stuck firmly up his ass.
Is he still backing him?
He's a fucking idiot.
Wow, what a flip-flop, huh?
Oh, the biggest one I've ever seen. Like a fish out of water, you would say.
Crazy.
She didn't get moved to a cushy prison because she talked to me. The BOP makes decisions all the time about security. There were a number of threats against her because of me, because people learned that I was going there. And so the BOP, the Department of Justice, has to keep our prisoners safe like everybody else.
And there's no way we could have ever arranged that in a meeting. Ever.
Look at Cuomo, though. Because, like, I think he's starting to realize that, like, people aren't as retarded as they hope. Especially because he's been embroiled in his own shit that he's gotten called out for. So now...
You're in charge of the organization, and you're saying you didn't tell the organization to move her if you went down there and talked? Okay, guy. Hey, well, if you believe that, I got some oceanside real estate I want to sell you in Nevada.
Like the main goal of like the head of the FBI, we saw this with the one previous and the one previous to that. They're put in the main seat and then aren't showed a single fucking thing, right? Like I'm pretty sure that Kash Patel has seen the least amount of documents in that building, and that's so that when he goes before Congress, he could legally say, "Well, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I didn't see any other criminals." Probably because they didn't let him see any of the goddamn files, you know.
And the FBI has become a political tool.
It's always been. It always has been.
But it's just a bummer because it wasn't supposed to be.
I'm starting to wonder about that because it seems like it's just another arm of the fucking CIA in one way or another. You know,
or the CIA.
Well, the CIA.
Because if it's the CIA should be in charge, not the president.
Well, the CIA is not supposed to act on domestic soil. It's supposed to only act on foreign soil on behalf of domestic interests. But like,
okay,
this is like the FBI is kind of like their hand on this side. But now they're allowed to do shit on like because of the amount of domestic terrorism they claim. So,
well, so this is, and he's making this campaign here because these survivors just came to DC 2 weeks ago and spoke, and he just had his appropriations hearing where he got ripped a new one by a couple of senators. And so he's out there trying to get ahead of it or trying to respond to it. I think there's another interview with him after this on the Today Show.
Well, it's pathetic. Like I don't understand these people. Like he's going to leave. You know, he's going to leave because fucking Bondi left.
You don't think he's going to become the permanent?
No,
because right now I think he's going to
find another. I think he's going to find another thing to do. because
Right.
these people are all burning themselves out. I don't know
Start
if
a
you noticed.
podcast.
Well, I don't even know if he'll start a podcast. The public does not like his ass right now. You know, like Dan Bongino at least had a nice cushion of like before he went over there and sold his soul. Although, you know, we did cover how Bongino was well entrenched in Hillary's shit in what, 2001 to 2012, I think, or 2009, some shit like that.
We did have a brief conversation about that, my friend. We did.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
not
just
like
don't
we gave
trust
her a
anyone.
benefit for what she said or didn't say. But like I said, we will always investigate any crime that's presented to us, especially against underage women, and that remains as true today as it has been. And that's not just me and the Attorney General. That's hopefully every single person at the Department of Justice.
Now, I went over this earlier with the folks. If you look up the definition of actionable intelligence, and this is information that is specific, credible, timely, and detailed enough that a person or organization can take a concrete action in response to it. And that is why we're having to break this research down into several episodes, because there are so many pieces of actionable intelligence in these Epstein files. To cover them all will take 24 hours.
Now, this is the thing, too. The time they become public also helps with that, because we may look at things and go like, oh, this is mid-2000s. But if it's just brought to light and it's big enough, it can still be relevant. You know, and that's what I'm kind of looking at with a lot of these bank things, because some of them from 2012, some of them are from a bit later. But it's the first time we're hearing about it, and yeah, I think it's worth it.
Oh, it's going to get interesting to see the power players involved for sure. More of the power players involved. And earlier, God bless New Mexico, I broadcast on my X channel, New Mexico holding their own state hearings, ethics hearings into Zorro Ranch. And they started the hearings off today with 3 victims and some short testimony, and started getting into what they're going to start doing, and approved everything moving forward. So they are going to start investigating what took place at Zorro Ranch. They have decided if the federal government is not going to do it, the state's going to. And I think a lot of these states, that's what they're going to have to do, because this federal government is not interested in pursuing charges in this case.
How fucking pathetic is that, though? Right? Like, they'll come after you and me for little bullshit things. You know what I mean? God forbid you blow a red light and you get caught on fucking camera. They'll make sure to track your ass down and send you that ticket in the fucking mail. But like shit like this with the real criminals, man.
Bad stuff.
It just makes me fucking sick to my goddamn stomach, dude.
Bad stuff. Bad stuff. Okay, so here's our definition of actionable intelligence. Now, we're going to get into, Maria Farmer just testified 2 weeks ago. I did try to mostly just include the important parts I thought to her. Tried to cut out some fluff. We're going to let Maria Farmer tell her story here. I think that's what I have coming up next. Let's see.
You have.
Oh, no, this is even better. This is Todd Blanche getting his asshole ripped at this Appropriation Hearings Committee.
All right. And now Maria Farmer, before we even get into her, she's awesome.
I forgot. We already went over it. You were here.
Oh, damn. Because she did so many awesome fucking paintings, right?
Yes.
Like just outing these people that we then saw in the pictures.
And the FBI took them.
Yep.
Yeah, they took her creative work and have not given it back. So yes, this is the Appropriations Committee. Now, I'm showing video of it because they do ask Blanche a couple of Epstein questions, and one of them he pretends like he doesn't even know what the Epstein investigation is. But before he says that stupid statement, here's some other Democratic senator tearing him a new asshole.
Clear conflicts of interest between your prior job as the president's personal lawyer
and your duty to ensure justice. This is especially true with respect to the cases of the survivors of the heinous crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein. Many of those survivors are in New York City today.
And I just want to be clear with people. I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican. If they're against the bullshit, I'm all for it. If they're going to call people out on their bullshit, I'm all for it. I don't care what party they're in.
As we speak, as part of a 24-hour public reading of the Epstein files, many reading excerpts from their own FBI 302 reports documenting the abuses they endured. These survivors have tried to share their stories with you. Instead, you spent 2 days interviewing his convicted associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, and shortly thereafter, she was moved to a lower security prison camp with special perks. Mr. Blanche, the record is crystal clear. You are still acting as the president's personal lawyer, not as acting attorney general. Let me ask you this about the Epstein case, because as we speak, many Epstein survivors are in New York. They're reading portions of the Epstein files about the abuse that they suffered. Otherwise, they might have been here with us today. At a House hearing, your predecessor refused to acknowledge the pain experienced by some of those victims when the administration improperly released their names and identifying information. So I want to know where you stand. I spoke to the representatives of some of the Epstein survivors yesterday. They are extremely frustrated that you keep calling for people to come forward with more evidence, but you have not met with them to hear their stories. So simple question. If I connect you with these survivors, will you meet with them?
Absolutely. And what you just said is false. I have met with them. I've met with many of the lawyers for the survivors of victims, as did Attorney General Bondi. So whoever told you that, unfortunately, gave you bad information.
Okay.
But I would encourage them to reach out to the Department of Justice, because like we do every single day, we absolutely care for victims, and we absolutely want to hear from them and their lawyers.
Well, I've been...
Again, there's this complete disconnect between these people running these organizations and what's actually happening to people to who they're supposed to serve. A complete disconnect. These victims are in DC having other hearings just so they can have their voice heard. And here's the Attorney General saying, what? I don't, what's wrong?
It also kind of sounded a bit like a threat.
We've done everything we can.
Well, the part where he's like, I want to speak to their lawyers, kind of as a lawyer from lawyer to lawyer. But how is that also not a conflict of interest that he's working this capacity and their direct witness testimony puts him in the scene of many crimes? You know?
And I mean, that's why I included, like, this guy isn't just the Attorney General. He is representing Donald Trump, y'all.
And I feel like I always have to do this just because it's fun to talk shit about Hillary Clinton.
Fuck Hillary Clinton.
I didn't hate him as much as I hated her. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have TDS. He's just not done a single fucking thing that he said he was going to do.
Right.
Now we're in a war he said he wouldn't get us in. You know, he's being a fucking dickhead, and he's not doing any of the shit that he promised. So fuck him.
I was watching that footage of him at this campaign rally with Sean Hannity talking about how there would be no more wars in the Middle East. None. No more stupid wars in the Middle East.
Bullshit, 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 bullshit. In order to quote my favorite movie, you know, saving Silverman. No,
what
that's
are
not it.
Talking about. He's like, we're on the precipice. Biden's going to lead us into World War III. No, dude, you are. What are you talking about? Anyway, I'll get off of that. Let's get back to Blanche here and all the wonderful things he's done for these Epstein survivors.
Told directly from the representatives they've not had a chance, at least this group, to meet with you. So
Did they represent that they asked?
So
I'm glad to hear
Did they represent they asked for a meeting?
Can I ask you to commit that the Justice Department will not recommend a pardon for anyone named in the Epstein files.
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
Can you commit that the Justice
what a
Department,
shit.
you, the acting Attorney General, will not recommend a pardon for people named in the Epstein files?
When you say people named, there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of, quote, people named.
How about Ghislaine Maxwell? Can you commit that you will?
Yes, I can commit to that, of course.
Do you?
He could commit to Maxwell that he won't let her go. But really, Trump we all know he's going to sign that fucking walkout paper when he leaves. It's going to happen. He's going to give her immunity.
Know that it is a criminal offense to lie to Congress.
I am very well aware of that.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
This Department of Justice is sending the message that if you're wealthy, if you're powerful, if you are well connected, you won't be held accountable even if you abuse children. You know us after Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act and DOJ finally began to release the files. Your department exposed survivors' names, their sensitive personal information, and even nude photos, while redacting names of alleged perpetrators of those crimes. The message that sends is this Department of Justice worked harder to protect the privacy of potential child abusers than the survivors. Your predecessor refused to apologize to those victims, but I want to give you the same opportunity to apologize for the way the department handled the release of these documents. Will you apologize to the survivors?
Again, this is just 2 weeks ago. So this is like almost a year after the Bondi stuff when she wouldn't turn around and say she was sorry. I mean, does it matter if they're sorry? It's more of this bullshit.
Especially if they're
point.
not sorry. Like, okay, maybe if they are sorry,
They don't give a fuck.
They don't care, dude.
They don't fucking care.
Lying fart weasel. You know what I mean?
They're annoyed they have to waste their fucking breath on this shit, y'all. That is how Todd Blanche acts.
The president passed the Epstein Transparency Act. That was the only time when the president signed the Transparency Act. That was when we were legally allowed to release the files. Prior to the passage of the act, which you all passed, I agree.
That is
we were
not the question I'm asking.
It was the question you asked. You asked 5 or 6 questions. I'm answering them in order.
No,
that was one of the questions you asked.
The question I want you to answer is, will you apologize to the victims whose names, sensitive personal information, and even nude photos were not redacted by your department? Will you apologize?
Of course.
Okay. Now watch his brows. And then the lady's like, I could see you're mad. And he's like, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. This is so funny.
That was, we never want to release a single victim's name.
They are hearing.
But can I answer the question, please? Is
I'm
it fair?
asking if you'll apologize.
So I just said yes, but I would like an explanation to be given to that. What this act did is it required us to review over 6 million pieces of paper in a very short period of time. And so 0.001%, we made mistakes and we owned up to them. And the second that a victim or their lawyer told us that we made a mistake,
it's only because they didn't have enough time to fully redact everything. Those are fucking assholes.
It's just so amazing. He's like, he's pissed, dude.
We had 6 million pages to look for perpetrators to protect.
Error, okay? We had a lot of work to do. Like, dude, you guys release files of naked minors. It's only 0.001% though, Flak.
They are fucking assholes, bro.
Do you think those naked minors were like, oh, well, I was only 0.001% of me, but you know, most of us were okay.
Like, this is the thing, right? Like, they redacted all the perpetrators first. They took the time to make sure all the perpetrators were redacted, except for maybe 3 pieces of fucking paper. You know, they missed maybe a couple of perpetrator names. Everything else got fucking redacted. Like, I don't want to hear any of this shit. It's just lies on top of lies on top of lies.
It really is, and that is a fucking great point that you make. They made sure to not make any errors when it came to releasing these rich guys' names. But we only made 0.001% error when it came to releasing pictures of nude minors. Okay, dude.
24/7 and being responsive to victims and their lawyers to make sure that we fixed every single problem.
He's angry.
And so, yes,
I hear your anger.
I'm not
and
angry.
I will
No, I'm not
tell-
angry.
I hear
I'm
your
just
anger,
making sure
and I will
it's
tell you
understood
really
that
angry
we
people who had
matter.
Their nude photos released. I just want to hear you say I apologize to.
Well, I'm not. He like bashes the table. And I'm not angry. What? I don't.
How dare you say I'm angry, smashing glasses of water?
I'm
on his
fine.
head?
I'm fine. He's like sweating, steam coming out of his
He
ears.
does the DiCaprio thing from Django Unchained where he breaks the glass in his hand while he's shouting at this poor woman.
Oh, my.
Those victims.
So, as I just said, of course, anytime we release a victim's name that shouldn't be released, we have failed as a Department of Justice. And so we have to do everything that we can to not fail.
Well,
And
I haven't heard the words I apologize.
I'm trying to give you an
those
explanation of what happened. I don't think you're really interested in that.
So that's literally, in years of this being an issue, as close as we're going to get to an apology about this shit. That's it.
I want it to also be known that, like, right, they don't care in court so much as to why you did half the shit you did to land your ass
No.
in court, right? They will never let you sit there and argue your own point like this. Well, it was hard. We had a lot of things to do that day.
Right.
I didn't know I couldn't do that. You know, they don't accept that kind of shit from us normal people. Why the fuck are we accepting it from these people who are supposed to be held in higher regard? Just because you have a higher up
It was just
station in the
hard.
government. Like, this is the fallacy, right? Is that, like, we all think that the more responsibility and the greater job that you have within the government means that more responsibility lies on your shoulders. And it's no. They're more
Right.
susceptible to fucking to handshake and a pat on the back for fucking things up. You know, like, it's
Yeah.
pathetic. And then for them to act like children, and he can't, like, I don't know, anytime an apology came with a but, like, I was told that apology doesn't count. You know,
This
like,
is-
whether that be in school or at home.
Yes, that's something I have heard as well, is that a genuine apology at the end of it doesn't end with a but, right? It's I apologize for this.
Well, this
That's
apology
it.
starts from a butt's face.
Well, that's
and then
the thing.
ends with
He
a
doesn't
butt
even
as
say
well.
I apologize. He just says, "Of course, we didn't want to release that stuff." He doesn't really apologize, and that was her point. Was like, you still can't even say the word under Trump. If guaranteed, if he had said apologize, there was no way he was going to become the permanent attorney general. Because right now he's just the acting attorney general because he fired Bondi. Okay, where were we?
It's crazy that she's already got a new fucking job lined up too.
Oh, Bondi's set, dude.
I have heard from them personally that DOJ refused to meet them, and I'm asking about you. I'm asking about the Justice Department reaching out to them to be heard, not waiting for them to navigate a legal system that has obviously repeatedly
This is great.
failed them so far.
Can I answer?
Me
Yeah, will you reach out to them?
So, as we have said repeatedly, of course, any lawyer, now, if a victim has a lawyer, I'm not allowed to reach out to the victim directly. You know that. But any lawyer can reach out to the Department of Justice. They have, and I've met with many victims and their lawyers, as has the FBI, as has the SDNY. We will always meet with victims' counsel. Any victim or their lawyer can come forward to the FBI.
Okay, again, lawyers speak, y'all. Meeting with their counsel doesn't mean dick.
If he is, this is also the thing, right? Like, I don't know how
we met
legal it
with
is
him.
for him to say that, but he is a Trump's lawyer, right? Or a former
Right,
Trump
no,
lawyer, definitely. Well,
the
some of this
attorney
shit is-
general, he would never violate that, Flak.
Well, no, he started out as Trump's lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, he
But
did.
That would have been around the time that he would have fucking been questioned about this shit. So, like, I don't know how that's not a conflict of interest. If he's put on the case about
Yeah.
the time that one of his clients are named in the fucking files, like,
Yeah.
that should be a conflict of interest immediately.
I think
And
a
get
big
him
thing-
removed whether he wants to or not.
I think a big way they view the executive and everything under executive power is it's Trump's decision. That's it. Like, since DOJ falls under executive power, he's in control of DOJ. I mean, I didn't show it, but the senator points out that in front of the Justice Building in DC, there's a giant 50-foot banner of Donald Trump hanging in front of the entryway. That's not cultish. Totally normal.
No, definitely not the golden idol that they were fucking worshiping too.
Totally
that was
normal.
kind of strange.
Yeah.
With these women, and I've met with them, and I know Senator Van Hollen has, and so many other, they are personally so feeling abused.
Oh, also, because the economy is doing so well, he wants to get his face on the $250 bill for the 250th anniversary of the country.
Yep. Well, everything costs that much. It's like, what, 3 times the amount of what it was?
What a gallon of milk costs now?
It's inflation.
$50.
So that's supposed to be a $50 bill. It's how much it's going to fucking hit. And now also,
man.
like, this is coming off the heels of the DOJ hiding everything during the first time around, that they got sued and had to pay out the government, our government, because they kept information from the victims, had to pay them the fuck out in the
Congress
millions.
made the Transparency Act, right? And they made Trump a hero because he signed the bill instead of vetoing it. Like, do you know how terrible it would have looked for him to veto that bill?
Well, especially since he ran on it and every one of his constituents actually went along with it.
He couldn't veto that bill, but what he did was got the FBI, and we can see this from recent reporting, they withheld case information against Trump because, you know, it was just bullshit. According to who?
Again and again by what happened to them originally, and now what's happening by them. I am saying to you, as a human being, who don't make them navigate a system that is impossible to navigate, that's already abused them. Reach out and ask to meet with them.
You're
That is
asking
all
me
I'm
to
asking.
call, you want me to personally call the victims? Is
I
that what
can
you're asking
help
me to
you.
You want me to personally call the victims? Who the fuck? Bitch, I am Todd Blanche. Don't you ever.
Well, now this might be telling behind the scenes, though. Maybe he's legally not allowed to call the victims.
I guess.
You know, like maybe
guess.
because
Sure.
that might be in violation. That might be some kind of harassment.
Yeah,
you
maybe.
know, like,
maybe. Or you could just call their attorney and be like, hey, let's
yeah,
talk.
that would work. That would work. But I'm liking
Yeah.
to see like the conspiratorial angle of this, where she's trying
Sure.
to out him in some sort of way in
Yeah.
a chess move that he's not prepared for, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Reach them.
Oh, that would be great. Yes, because we have said
And
from
you
day
will meet
one,
with them if
of
I reach
course,
out to you.
there have been members that have done that. And we immediately reach out to the victims or their lawyers when the lawyers want say.
Can you give one example, sir? Like, why don't they ask that question? Name one that you met with. Just one.
They want to do it.
We will follow up on that. Thank you very much.
I want to talk about the Epstein case because it has occupied so much of your tenure here. And earlier this year, the department has turned over now more than 3 million pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. But Capitol Hill still has questions. Would the department object to Pam Bondi, now as a private citizen, sitting down with them?
So I think that's something that they're working out. By they, I mean Chairman Comer and other members of the committee.
Former U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi was on Capitol Hill today to testify about records related to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Bondi said she stood behind the Trump administration's release of the Epstein files, but refused to answer questions about President Trump's involvement. Testifying behind closed doors, Bondi told lawmakers that the Justice Department made redaction errors in releasing the Epstein files. She also said that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, now the acting Attorney General and Trump's former personal attorney, had overseen the process to publish them. Well, the interview was not recorded as part of the agreement, I should say, for Bondi's cooperation. Democrats objected to that stipulation.
We continue to be incredibly disappointed of the decision to not have this interview videotaped and then released to the American public. The second thing we asked Chairman Comer is to ensure that this interview is under oath. We understand the Attorney General is going to be there answering questions from Congress, but it should have been under oath and it should be videotaped.
Representative James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee, says the committee will release a transcript.
We already went.
So it wasn't under oath. and it wasn't videotaped, and they'll release their copy of the transcript. Thanks, Oversight Committee.
$50. It sounds like AI slop that the trans shooter one sounded like. You know, it was probably like Cash and his buddies
This
writing
is
it up.
fucking unreal, dude. This is unreal. Howard Lutnick, I showed Howard Lutnick at the beginning of the stream. He's still in the White House. Howard Lutnick was like Epstein's next door neighbor. He took his kids to Epstein Island.
Pretty sure Epstein got him that fucking apartment too.
What
or
the
at least
fuck?
he got it from the same channels Epstein got it.
He's
It's bad, dude. It's bad. How do you bring your and your neighbor's kids to that fucking island? You know, and then advertise it before you even get there. Like, hey, Jeff, make sure you have room for this amount of kids at this age. It's fucked,
man.
dude.
And you start going through those files and those pictures at the island, and it becomes very clear, like it was almost like two different worlds going on that island. There was this kind of clean, touristy, nice vibe, but then kind of behind the scenes there was like dark entryways and tunnels,
That culty shit, the whole cult vibe. Like they did all right. So there are a couple of videos that I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck they were, because they had weird paths lit up during certain times of the night on that island, doing weird ritual
sigils.
shit, doing the fucking sigils, bro. They were getting some strange shit going on.
Sigilling it up. Watch out for those sigils, y'all. Watch out for those sigils.
There. So when you say, will we object, the Attorney General and I went to Congress, sat there for hours, said, you can ask us any question you want. And yes, it was not televised live on TV. The reason for that is because what they had said they wanted to talk about is victims and why
The revolution will not be broadcast on TV, y'all.
we weren't investigating certain things that they had supposedly learned about victims, and so that is not something that should have been aired on TV. And instead what we got was just a complete charade by Democrats and a few
charade.
Republicans. And so we have...
Dude, I've played charades before.
That's not just lip service. We have produced every single relevant document that has anything to do with the Epstein files, and we had to redact a lot of that because the law requires it. And we have invited Congress to come and look at unredacted versions of every single document as much as they want for as long as they want.
And then they logged everywhere they went on those files.
Right. And then they give an interview afterwards going, yeah, that was fucking weird. Don't make me pull them up, y'all. Where these senators go to this room and they're like, they checked everything I did. I couldn't write anything down. Everything I'm telling you right now, I had to keep in my memory bank. Fucking no. This is all bullshit.
And some have taken advantage of that, some have not. And so I'm not sure where the complaints are from Congress that we need to do more, because we've done more than in any other case in the history of this country to be transparent and to make available the information that we have in our files.
I think there's still a fair amount of confusion about this issue. Whether you like it or not, I think people are still very confused about it and think that more can be done. And they think people should be held accountable. And they see you say, case closed, we've produced all the documents, there's nothing to see here. Help people bridge the gap. Is it because the claims are too old? Is it because there isn't enough evidence to indict a co-conspirator? What is it that is preventing anyone else from being held accountable?
So we've never said case closed. If we learn information any day, whether if it's 5 years from now, if we learn information from a victim or learn other evidence that allow us to charge anybody associated with Epstein's crimes, we'll charge it. So the big misconception is that the Department of Justice or me has ever said case closed. What we have said is that from the information that we have within the Epstein files, we do not have a case against anybody. And so guess what?
We've never said case closed. But the case is closed.
We're just not investigating anyone. That's all. We're not investigating anyone. He says this as he's pointing at the screen. We're not doing it.
There's one thing you can say, I guess, in a glass half full positive way about Todd Blanche, and that is, if I was ever looking at a serious crime, I would want that guy defending me.
What? We then released the Epstein files. And so now everybody has the Epstein files that we had. And if some congressmen have asked us for follow-up on some communications or some issues, potentially saying, hey, maybe this is somebody you should investigate. And we did, and we're happy to do that. And so the frustration for me is I understand why people feel like more people need to be held accountable. How can it be that only 2 people were held accountable for the years and years, decades-long crimes committed by Mr. Epstein? I agree with that. This case was investigated by multiple prosecutors, dozens of federal agents over the course of many years, over the course of 12 years. And so the idea that we haven't investigated is false. It was investigated in multiple jurisdictions, by state and local, by the feds. We have now produced every single file we've had. We have said to victims, you can come talk to the FBI any day of the week if you have information that we need to know to help us bring charges against anybody.
So if something new comes out, it sounds like your door.
It's amazing he says that. And we just listened to Maria Farmer said she'd been going to the FBI since 1996. And all they did was fuck her off for decades. And if they would have taken what she and her sister told them seriously in 1996, they could have potentially stopped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these girls from being victimized. Hundreds.
Doors open.
Yes, but just to be clear, I'm not breaking news telling you that. I've been saying that for months and months and months and months and months. And so that has always been the case. And so and the Attorney General Bondi said the same thing. Director Patel said the same thing. And so we've been saying that. And then there are some of these victims' rights groups that have suggested that that's not the case. We met with victims' rights groups. The Attorney General and I did. I know Director Patel, prosecutors in the Southern District of New York met with victims. So there's been a lot of investigation over the years.
A lot of these, by the way, there is some bullshit going on with these victim rights groups because some of them were paid for and established by Epstein, right? Like that's actually in the files, how it talks about how some of these things were like
what?
Catching,
Wait,
yeah.
Some he set up a victim's rights against
more than
himself?
one. No. Well, sort of. He did it as like these hotlines, right?
Okay.
To catch and kill the stories, right? Pay off certain girls that needed to be paid off, scaring off other ones. Like
But
that
this
shit's
guy
in the
wasn't
files.
intel. This guy wasn't intel.
Nope. Even though he was fucking smart enough to pull that shit.
Do you really believe he wasn't part of intel?
Me? No, I think he was a part of probably like 3 or 4, maybe triple agent, quadruple agent type shit.
So like
not just Israel, not just
Mossad
US.
would be one, right?
Well, yeah. Did you see in the files?
CIA.
There's a photo with him like 6 different law enforcement outfits, different ones. Dude, he had FBI jackets and shit like that, and the cops found it in his closet and took a picture of it.
I mean, do you think he got those from cops or he ordered them from Amazon?
Either or, it's still fucking creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy, right?
Just think about it. Just think about the access that he had to information in the Middle East that would have been detrimental for anyone but the U.S. to have that, right? And then Israel would have wanted that as well, you know? So, like, you have to understand, too, like, the CIA will take information from anybody. They don't care if it's good information or bad information. They'll figure that out along the way. They just want information. So, like, it's not too hard to... Like, if you're around the people they want information from, they'll take you. They'll take you seriously.
Yeah.
Prosecutions that some people, that the American public maybe believe it should have. That's a fact. But we have been as transparent as we possibly could be. I remain available to answer questions from the media, from folks on the Hill that have questions about our process, about what we have, what we don't have, and that's all that I can do.
Are you willing to sit down with lawmakers if they want to interview and talk to you once again? We know you've already said
I already have.
And you're willing to do it again?
I've talked to multiple, Yes, we have always said we'll talk to lawmakers about it. Lawmakers, many of them, Democrats and Republicans, can contact me. And they can ask. I'm not sure what questions they have because they mostly speak through X and actually are totally wrong on what they think is the case.
They say they have questions about redactions. They say they have questions about documents that have been withheld. Those are their questions.
Well, those questions could be directed to me instead of to the X universe out there. And I think,
how dare they speak of injustices on social media?
Boom! I just sent you over one of those photos.
Outstanding. Okay, this is the one of his strange collections of uniforms here.
Yeah, and they're spread throughout the files. Like, there's more than that one, but this is a one that was, I guess, standalone in one of his properties. I think this is from New York.
Wow. So that's yeah. I mean, you wouldn't see that in my closet.
Special police. That's a New York special investigations thing,
Yeah.
which, like, it's a bit outdated. So I wonder what year he got that and when it was relevant. You know,
That's a full-on abduction kit right there, folks.
you know. And then
Yeah,
when he
it can
has
be answered.
Army,
I think the
Navy,
problem-
Mossad, IDF, fucking all these different other outfits too, it can't be
Yeah.
ignored. You know.
No. I mean, either he admired it and looked up to it and wanted to be it and represent it, or he was a part of it.
Well, I think it also could have been used for like intimidation. So let's say he wasn't exactly tied in. Remember how that one kid, that Ramsey Alkali guy, kept asking for, kept wanting to be able to say he's with Victoria's Secret or whatever, so he would have more, I guess, clout when he was interviewing these girls to be able to talk them into doing more shit. Because he would say that every time. He's like, if I was able to say I was with Victoria's Secret, it'd be easier to get photos of these girls for you, which is fucked up anyway. But like, they love having little things that they can use as like kind of like a clout indicator. Like that's what the whole royal family was for these people. Like Andrew was all clout for them.
Wow. Okay, we're almost through this first one here.
They don't really want the answers because the truth of the matter is this Department of Justice, okay, starting with President Trump, who signed the Transparency Act, has done more when it comes to the Epstein files than any administration in history. Okay, so the first Trump administration prosecuted Epstein. This administration released all the files, and that's not something that didn't satisfy some lawmakers who really wanted there to be a different narrative.
But see, I don't think he wanted people thinking about it this way. That means that the entire prosecution of this case was under Trump. Right?
Ooh, yep.
Yeah. So he's saying that, yeah, Trump was the only one that did anything. That also means that Trump controlled it.
Oh, we covered up for President Trump. No, we didn't. And that has gone away. Oh, we are protecting famous men who did things. You have all the files. What's a single famous man that you think we protected?
Well, you've blanked out all the names, so it's hard for us to figure that out.
I suggest everyone go to the first trench, not this shit, the 2019 stuff, and read Virginia Giuffre's book. It has fucking names all throughout it. And this is one that she wrote, not after she died, right? Because that second one, I read it, and it's bullshit compared to the first one. There's fucking names galore in that.
In a
names all over that fucking thing.
In a book. Our
And
FBI
now
and
this is the
Attorney
thing.
General's
It
office
wasn't
could have done
released.
something about that.
It wasn't released, right? That was her memoir that her psychiatrist told her to write to feel better about things, to get all that shit off her chest, and she did it, right? And then because the lawsuits came up and she was getting harassed by, this is the whole thing. She was ready to just get the fuck away from it and let live and live and let live type of thing with Epstein and Ghislaine and them. They kept fucking with her when she had gotten to Australia, trying to see if she would ever rat them out. And because of that, she was absolutely fed up with that shit. So she basically told them to go fuck themselves and sued the fuck out of them. But that book, that memoir that she wrote, was given in for evidence, and the FBI corroborated the fucking thing. Right? So they had to go and fact check that shit. And aside from a couple of dates being off, because she was like 16, 17 when this happened, wrote the book, I believe, when she was like 25 to like 28. So like a couple of things were off, but they said it was true. They didn't doubt her story at all. They just they had a little bit of issues with some of the time frames because they overlapped in a weird way. But like, that's pretty fucking good, especially from somebody who they usually like to claim has too much PTSD to be a credible witness.
Yeah. And Maria Farmer,
whose sister, this is the thing, Maria's sister got brought in by these fucking people because and they took a photograph that she had with her, like, because Maria was an artist. She was, I think, like 19, but her sister was younger than that. And I forget, for whatever reason, they wound up getting a nude photograph of her sister, getting her sister's information, and then bringing her sister into the fold. You know, like, it really fucked up. But then her sister also testified.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, and here we have Maria Farmer saying the same thing. Maxwell and her cohorts are actively sending her death threats at this very moment. Because if she gets too loud, when Maxwell could possibly get a pardon, that could cause an issue. They don't want Maria Farmer here when Trump's leaving the White House. Because Maria Farmer will be making noise about Ghislaine Maxwell, and she's going to want a pardon. Please, God, protect Maria Farmer and support Maria Farmer in any way if you can. Unbelievable.
And the rest of them, for that matter. I mean, like,
yeah,
I feel like
there's
they all
more
have
that have just come forward.
They have a I don't know, a bad air around them as far as like the company that these people.
And he
not
just
the victims, but
the president just thrashes them. You know, like, how much shit did he talk about E. Jean Carroll, and the fucking every court they've taken it to has upheld the charge? It was a jury that found him guilty, not some judge with an agenda. A jury of their peers was like, yeah, he definitely did that to her. And he talks all this shit, and she has to sue him again to quit talking shit. And he still won't stop talking shit. And they just upheld the ruling. We got a con man in the White House, y'all. Period. Deal with it.
So yes, of course, I'm available to answer questions to anybody that asks. Every interview that I do, when I'm asked about the Epstein files, I'm happy to talk about it as long as folks want to. I do think that we have to get back to the work that we're doing when it comes to this issue. We prosecuted more sex predators in just 14 months than the last administration had done in almost 3 years. And so this is something we're doing every single day, protecting young women, our most vulnerable, minors, people who are here illegally, and so they're often trafficked. That is something we're doing every day at U.S. attorneys' offices across this country. So the idea that we are somehow not protecting our most vulnerable is also a narrative that is completely false.
I thought it was carelessness, and then I went to incompetence, and now it feels a bit deliberate. I feel like the Department of Justice has really made us feel unsafe.
An attorney for some survivors tells NBC News that she personally reported violations on behalf of more than 50 survivors so far. And in a letter describes some clients, Jane Doe's, who never planned on going public, who now say they're facing harassment and death threats. The DOJ, in a new court filing, writing it has worked, quote, all hours through the weekend from the point when the first victim-related concerns were raised, saying it's taken down thousands of documents that included victim-identifying information. Annie Farmer, a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. Annie, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let me start with how you are doing after the course of the events of the last several days here. How are you feeling as we're hearing from some of your fellow survivors?
It's been a really heavy few days, and I'm at this point, I think I'm feeling really most of all angry about the way that this has unfolded. I mean, there's been a lot of information that's come out, some of which we really wanted to have light shed on, but the fact that it's been done in such, I'd say, beyond careless way, where people have been endangered because of it, is really horrifying. Right now, don't believe that the leadership at the DOJ had any intention of following through with what they told us over and over. There was so much lip service from this administration about protecting victims, but when you know there's been 40 images, nude images of potentially girls and young women that have been included, completely unredacted, and you see entire lists of victims that are...
But it's 0.001%. Fuck.
Completely unredacted. It's hard to believe this was anything other than that it was intentional.
That's a reference, of course, to the New York Times reporting, Annie, that found what they say were dozens of these unredacted nude images of young women, potentially teenagers. The Times says that they did report those images to the Justice Department. And as you heard, the DOJ says that it is working to take down anything that is not redacted and should be, and it has done so over the weekend. I wonder what it was like for you going through these files, looking at them. I don't know if you saw any of your identifying information of people that you know as you were looking through this.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I found my own, date of birth, my own phone number, but was also just really disturbed to see evidence of names of people that I knew did not want to be public, that were included, and also just like really, intimate details of people's lives that did not need to be included and were the kinds of things that the law outlined that said would not be included. So, and once something is out there in a digital way, they can take it down. But as we know, the damage has been done, and it's really upsetting.
That's the thing, right? They can remove it. Doesn't matter. People downloaded it.
Well, it doesn't remove the stigma. This makes me glad that I took about a week. It's like I didn't touch these things for a little bit of time.
It's really frustrating.
Well, they rickrolled us about 700 times till Sunday with this shit, and then when they finally dropped the files, I thought it was like the 200-page binder that they gave the fucking binder idiots, Bindergate, to where I was like, we already seen all these things, and then someone was like, oh no, it's in like the millions, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they had already removed a ton of the shit, but
thousands of victims are saying thousands, Flak.
This is nuts. Like, I don't know how they can just allow this many people to get like slapped in the face, because
children.
What are they hoping
children.
That we do as people, right? Because like I never incite violence. When have I ever really incited violence on here or X? I'm more the peaceful guy, but like they're pointing out that like nothing is going to happen. Like,
right.
It's almost
slapping
like they
us
hope...
in the face with it.
Yeah, because like I don't know, man. What else do we do now? What else? We can't do anything. We're trying. Nothing is happening. Like,
so, we saw the testimony of Maria Farmer, who had gone to local law enforcement, then was encouraged to go to the FBI. Was gaslit by the FBI several times, and eventually they sent her a letter saying, we've resolved all the criminal stuff, but it's a secret what we did. And they want her to just walk away. And she is facing all kinds of health issues. Imagine that. We know the Palm Beach police built a case from 2005 to 2006, a 53-page report where Maxwell was continually named. And because of it, the FBI drafted a major federal indictment. We covered Acosta on this show before, but what we didn't cover, see, when Acosta went on stage, he started talking about this was all because of the local DA. And the local prosecutor was going to give Epstein this deal where he wouldn't have to register as a sex offender and he wouldn't have to do any jail time.
Imagine the ones where they were like, now this is eventually going to come out one day. So like, we kind of got to give him some, like, imagine it was like, okay, we'll give you one ice cream party. You get to own your own town in New Mexico. And we'll name you mayor in 3 years' time.
But we are going to throw you under the bus.
But no, that didn't come in till later, because then someone was like, man, if somebody finds out about the ice cream party, we'll be screwed. So they're like, all right, you know what? You have to do this, and then this. But he still did win the lottery in New Mexico. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not too far off from my fucking joke.
Which makes it even more crazy, right?
Instead, he got a money party. They made it rain like he was a fucking, I don't know, a woman with her top off looking for pearls on Mardi Gras. You know what I mean?
Like I said, we had the state ethics board looking into what was going on in New Mexico because the federal government apparently has decided they are not going to investigate. And so state leadership in New Mexico is taking charge of this investigation out at his little campsite out there and beyond, and anything else that he did in the state, which is like fucking go New Mexico. I think all the rest of these states should follow suit. New York, Florida again, whatever. So Acosta threw that guy under the bus saying that he had to give this deal. But we didn't have a response yet. And now I've chopped in the response from the representative that he threw under the bus.
2008, a major newspaper described the Epstein prosecution like this. A Florida grand jury, that is, a grand jury convened by the district attorney of Palm Beach County, had charged Epstein with the lesser offense. At that time, the Epstein legal team was elated. He would have avoided prison altogether.
So there's a 53-page indictment, and he's saying he would have avoided prison altogether.
I'll give this guy the only bit of credit at all possible for actually coming out and being like, no, they told me he was intelligence, leave him alone. So I said, okay, don't kill me, put the gun away. You know, like...
He did say that, and I did want to bring up that, who is it, Ehud Barak? He was tied to Epstein as a friend since at least 2003. Epstein helped him invest, and money went to an Israeli settlement group.
Then you got Modest Netanyahu that was up in that fucking thing too.
Alan Dershowitz is the one that told this joker, Alex Acosta, apparently, that Epstein was intelligence and to back off. And so we know this is all bullshit. Because unless he comes out and he says, well, Alan Dershowitz told me to cut this guy a deal because he's intelligence, then he's lying to you. He's lying to all of us right now. And that's why he immediately got Trump retired after this.
I'm still trying to figure out what the deal is, because right when the ship broke and everyone was still alive, and it was like right at the early days of the court and stuff when they were all doing interviews, and that includes...
Like what year are you talking?
Like Alan Dershowitz, this is like 2019, around this time. Okay. They all had puppets in the back of their fucking videos, right? Like Alan Dershowitz had it was like a professional, looked kind of like a Bert and Ernie style puppet, but a character of these people. And I always wondered what that meant, because like a puppet master type shit. But there was close ties with Disney, and like I wonder if it was like a special little fucking club that they were involved in that involved Disney. Because like how else would you get those things? And why else would it be in the... Dude, it was a cryptic thing that people started noticing, and then they all fucking disappeared. It was only like, I'm pretty sure you could still find videos of it, but
I don't know if you've gotten to the file where it has on St. Martin the medical lab. Have you gotten to those pictures yet?
Which ones are those? Are those ones with the little
there's like
masks all over?
What looks like a dentist chair, surrounded by masks.
Yeah.
Very curious.
Yeah, there's other ones. He has one of those in every place, one of those wacky dentist chairs. But like, you know what I noticed? That there were those popping up in storage containers that were completely, like, they were lined with tinfoil as some sort of like Faraday cage, and they were set up to be like torture chambers, man. And like, it really reminded me of fucking Epstein's bathroom, because it had the same little setup, you know?
Wow. Now, I have a question for you on one of these pictures, and maybe maybe the audience can help us. This picture here, hang on, I'm just getting it available for us. This picture here was part of the Epstein file release. And to me, this was inside of a picture frame on his mantle, on one of his mantles. And to me, it looks like a gentleman sitting inside of a cockpit of some type of craft. But the way that he has to lay down, I don't know what kind of craft that is. What the fuck is that, Flak? So it's got a cockpit, right? And he's laying back. Any thoughts?
That looks like the back of an SUV.
Back of an SUV looks like he's in a cockpit. You see the chest straps?
Sort of, but yeah, maybe. Could be Ghislaine, perhaps. She did have that flight suit on, and it looks like lady hands.
But they didn't edit Ghislaine's pictures, remember? They left all Ghislaine's and all Jeffrey's.
I don't know. Now look at the hands. Those are dainty little hands.
Maybe it's another woman. But either way, that looks like a cockpit to a jet.
Yeah, now that I look at it, it does. Because I thought that little bump up is like, you know, where especially if it was a Jeep, where the hatch, yeah. But yeah, I do see the cross seatbelt on it.
Yeah. So we now have confirmed a time travel machine in the Epstein files. Yep. I kid. Okay, so back to Acosta. Now, here's what's interesting.
I was going to make an inappropriate joke about Ghislaine's orbs, but I figured, you know what? In recent light of events,
Representative Frankel, who is also from Palm Beach County, kind of went through this ontological shock. And I thought it was important to show how long, because of bureaucracy, how long it takes between when these people actually realize something's going on and when they start getting actual answers from people that matter. That'll be part of this video too. It's pretty interesting.
Then the United States Attorney's Office in Miami became involved. Epstein got an ultimatum: plead guilty to a charge that would require jail time and registration, or face federal charges. Now, many today question the terms of that ultimatum, what's called the Non-Prosecution Agreement. The goal here was straightforward: put Epstein behind bars, ensured he registered as a sexual offender, provide victims with the means to seek restitution, and protect the public by putting them on notice that a sexual predator was in their midst.
Did you
pause it right there for 1 second, though?
That the evidence against Epstein?
Yes, sir.
Right, like, so this is the point I've been fighting on with this the whole time, right? Because they've been censoring this shit. They've been censoring it on YouTube. They've been censoring it everywhere. We can't say half the terms on YouTube because it'll get your fucking channel struck down, right? Like we had to call it grape and Mordor and unaliving and weird terms that I don't even know what half these crimes mean.
CP.
Now, right? So now one of the crimes, or not crimes, one of the penalties is being on a list that tells the public safety wise, right? So somehow these fucking companies have morphed it since 2019 to hide that, to be able to fucking shield these people from being outed in public so that they know to be safe, right? Like what kind of mirror world bullshit is this, that now all this stuff gets taken down and the perpetrators' names are redacted so that what people are forced to have these acts happen over and over again?
I don't know. I mean,
you know the answers.
I do know.
You know the answers.
I do know that every time we cover this issue, my personal algorithm gets tanked. This probably doesn't come up on anybody's feed, even my subscribers, when I do these episodes, which I find just pretty par for the course, right? But like I said in the very beginning, I'm not going to stop talking about it. And they're not going to take it down because I'm sharing stuff that's already out there, and I'm not breaking their policies. Okay, so
also this is what I also want to point out too. You know, I like to think that we put our best foot forward when bringing the receipts to these things. You know, everything that we don't show receipts for are something that we have talked about in the past and have showed the receipts for. So we're kind of just touching back on it. So we don't have to show those. You can always go back and look at all the other episodes that we've had that we've plastered all the fucking receipts around. You know, like we do the proper thing of at least pointing out where the things that we see wrong are. You know,
and
so
we're not biased, dude. We're not team.
Yep.
Right.
Team nothing.
Team
I
left,
was team fuck Hillary Clinton, right? And I'm still on that team. But now it's team fuck Trump too. If he's gonna play the bullshit card, you know.
Oh, he's been playing it, buddy. He's been playing it. He's been playing it.
Would it have been sufficient to secure convictions beyond a reasonable doubt for the federal offenses listing the non-prosecution?
So this sounds like shit, but what this guy's asking him is isn't it your job as a prosecutor to try to find justice and not just win a case and get some jail time?
Agreement, and if so, why was it not in the interest of justice to charge him with these crimes?
So again, I would refer you to the documents I've provided. They were very serious that they would proceed federally. That does not mean that they were confident in the final outcome. And one of the tough questions in these cases, what is the value of a secured guilty plea with registration versus rolling the dice?
You describe what would happen if Epstein rejected.
He would have been rolling the dice, Flak. There's hundreds of witnesses. He would have been rolling the dice.
He would have just had to throw a rock in any direction, and he would have figured it out.
Are you serious? Rolling the dice? There's a 53-page indictment. There's an ongoing FBI report. You would be rolling the dice? Okay. No. You took this case over and made sure to give this man the absolute minimum possible for what he had done.
With charges, and I understand that you're...
I wonder what it feels like to actually sell your soul. I'll never know.
I'm imagining it's very warm.
It must
be very
at first.
Warm, burning, tingly sensation.
At
then
first.
a full-on pants on fire. Will break out soon after.
Yeah, but then you're on that deathbed and you're like, uh-oh, I'm not going north.
Those flames rode higher.
It's never a slam dunk, but it seems like you're making this out to be a case in which you held the possibility of a federal indictment over the head of Mr. Epstein to get him to plead to a lesser crime, and that in and of itself is against the ABA.
I do not think that the office violated the ABA standards by negotiating strongly and forcefully.
I mean, I don't think so.
So standing here today, are you basically saying that you feel that you did everything you could, you got the best deal you could get, and you have no regrets?
What I can say is
no regrets.
And I've provided a timeline, I've provided information about the individuals involved. This was the view of the office. There is a value to a sure guilty plea.
You ever see that movie, We Are the Millers? The no regrets kid?
Yep.
It's no regrets tattooed on his neck. No regrets, bro. No regrets.
Because letting him walk, letting what the state attorney was ready to do go forward would have been absolutely awful.
So it's clear the state attorney is the problem, right? Oh, hold on.
I heard there Secretary Acosta blamed the Palm Beach State Attorney's Office for the 2008 plea deal. But late tonight, the former Palm Beach State Attorney himself slammed the Secretary's defense, writing in a statement, "I can emphatically state that Mr. Acosta's recollection of the matter is completely wrong. If Mr. Acosta was truly concerned about the state's case and felt he had to rescue the matter, he would have moved forward with a 53-page indictment that his own office drafted. Instead, Mr. Acosta brokered a secret deal. Mr. Acosta should not be able to rewrite history. Well, Acosta was asked multiple times by reporters today if he felt the victims deserved an apology.
They didn't hear back from you until it was too late. Do you owe them an apology?
The agreement that had been negotiated had an unusual provision.
You have no regrets.
We believe that we proceeded appropriately.
Epstein served 13 months but was allowed to leave jail and go to work 6 days a week. Acosta also offered an explanation for why the plea deal was kept secret from the victims. But a Florida judge has since ruled that was illegal.
This deal stinks. He betrayed his position as a prosecutor.
He stinks. His deal stinks. His whole thing stinks.
Lawmakers also want a Justice Department probe launched earlier this year examining the Epstein plea deal to be made public.
We heard Acosta essentially criticize the Palm Beach County handling of the case before his U.S. Attorney's Office intervened. Well, tonight, the former state attorney for Palm Beach is pushing back, disputing Acosta's recollection of that time and saying if he was so concerned about the Palm Beach case, he should have.
See, this is where Acosta fucked up. When you got a guy that was a former state attorney, he don't got shit to lose. So he's just gonna say what the fuck he wants to say. He's like, dude, we had a 53-page indictment on this motherfucker.
Doesn't it also kind of feel a bit like the Spider-Man meme where there's like 6 Spider-Mans pointing at each other in a circle?
There's also
it's your fault. It's not my fault. It's your fault. I seen it. It actually looks pretty fucking cool.
It does look kind of cool being broadcast in black and white. Okay, so yes, this is a problem. You blame it all on this former state attorney. It's all his fault. And then this guy, instead of just taking one for the team, says bullshit.
Well, this is bad enough. I wouldn't want to take this one for the team. Fuck your team at that point.
Fuck
the
no.
whole team. Fuck
I still
got
to play golf with these people. I'm not taking the rap for this. I had a 53-page indictment ready to go. You were the one that stepped in and made the deal that you made.
Have moved forward with the 53-page indictment that his own office drafted.
Again, what he has said is that there was real questions about whether they could get a conviction, and therefore they struck the best deal they could, and it was approved from all the way up to the top of the Justice Department. But the probe will determine whether, I hope, the DOJ probe is going to let us know whether this was the result of political influence or the result of a prosecutorial decision that in hindsight may not have been the right one.
It's come to the attention of the public of what I call a very shocking sexual exploitation of young, vulnerable women here in Palm Beach County. Investigation held in the early 2000s by the Palm Beach Police.
Okay, this is really interesting. Flak, get yourself a water. We're going to make this full screen. This is about 5 minutes or so. Check this out, folks, because this is like the actual evolution of this representative from 2019 on. You can see here, this is her first kind of understanding of what's been going on. And we're going to watch how that changes over the course of 7 years.
Of a Jeffrey Epstein who lived over in Palm Beach and allegedly had dozens and dozens of young, vulnerable women, taken to his house where they were sexually exploited. What I call an extreme minimal punishment for this man without really any public explanation as to why this happened. A deal was struck. I'm going to read what it was. A deal was struck by the Southern Florida U.S. Attorney Alexandria Acosta, who is now our Secretary of Labor. And basically, this was an extraordinary plea agreement that actually shielded the full extent of the crimes that were committed. Mr. Epstein ended up serving 13 months here in Palm Beach County on some type of work release program after he had been facing what seemed was apparently a 53 count page, a 53-page federal indictment that could have put him into prison for life. We do not know, although it's been reported that maybe he was giving information to the federal government. We do not know if that is true, and we do really not know the reason for what I call was, I thought, an extreme minimal punishment. There was a Crime Victims' Right Act, which would have entitled the victims for notification. That apparently was also violated. We wrote a letter that was sent out yesterday to the Inspector General of the United States Justice Department. Dear Inspector General Horowitz, we want to write to express great concerns over reports that during his tenure as United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, the current Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, gave a non-prosecution deal to a wealthy and well-connected serial sex offender, hid it from victims, and granted immunity to any potential co-conspirators who were involved in the crimes. It is such a shocking plea agreement. I guess the question that arises, why did that happen? That has not been, I don't believe that has been brought forth to the public in a satisfactory manner. Maybe there is a reason that we do not know, but we feel like the public wants to know, especially since, especially I would say here in Palm Beach County, where we put a sex offender back on the street.
First, I want to hear what's your thoughts about what do you expect tomorrow?
Well, let me just say this. I've been calling for this hearing for years, and because of COVID, because of prosecutions, we were not able to do this hearing. This is where Palm Beach County, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to apologize because there was a grave miscarriage of justice by our state attorney back there, Barry Krischer. I'm saying his name only because I don't want to, the two following state attorneys were not part of this, but it was a grave misjustice. They demeaned survivors. They treated survivors like prostitutes instead of victims of a heinous activity by Jeffrey Epstein. And they really gave, they allowed, for what reason we don't know yet, I hope we can get to the bottom of it, but for some reason they allowed a predator to go loose for many, many years. Basically, Jeffrey Epstein got a slap on the wrist and he was allowed to really go on with his abuse. This is where we could have stopped the abuse earlier, because the way that this case was handled here in Palm Beach County, which was to allow this predator to continue his abuse and to probably allow his co-conspirators to get loose, probably hundreds of young women were sexually abused because of the way this case was handled. If we can get to the bottom of why Jeffrey Epstein got his deal and who else was involved, I think that would be important moving forward, because if there had to be other people, their names have been shielded. We need to know who else was involved, and so that they can be prosecuted.
But that's the thing. I've just said Alan Dershowitz told him he was intel and to back off. So I don't know, maybe she's just not read up on the matter. But you'd think like that initial statement she made was 2019 when everybody was talking about it, because that second release came out. Or I'm sorry, that first release came out. And so she's like trying to figure it out. But now it's been like 7 years almost. And she still doesn't understand that Alan Dershowitz told Alex Acosta that he was intelligence. And she's still throwing the other state attorney under the bus. So it's almost like she's decided to be on Acosta's side in a way, but she also throws Acosta under the bus. So I don't really understand.
Allegedly, she may be paid allegedly to be this obtuse, allegedly.
Is that out there too?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. That's like, I don't know how you can intentionally ignore so many fucking red flags right in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, that was a very, if you're a representative and this happened in your area on your watch and you're reviewing this information, I mean, the Alan Dershowitz quote is huge. How could you not be aware of that? It's just so strange. But she does make a few other good points.
Why was Jeffrey Epstein given a slap on the wrist for sexually abusing so many young women? And why was that activity allowed to go on? I hope we can get some answer to that tomorrow.
Right here in Palm Beach County, more than 20 years ago, that the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific crimes were first denied justice with devastating results. In 2005, the Palm Beach Police Department, led by then Chief Michael Ryder, I'm giving him a shout out, a good guy, he uncovered a deeply disturbing pattern of predatory sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and his associates, targeting women, of course, and young girls, many recruited from our local high schools right here in Palm Beach County. The police did their job. They listened to the survivors. They built a serious case. Then they brought it to then State Attorney Barry Krischer. I call his name because his succeeding prosecutors are not involved. But instead of filing charges, was it overwhelmed by the power, by the wealth? He sent the case to a grand jury where prosecutors shockingly minimized the abuse, limited the witnesses, and treated vulnerable young girls as if they were criminals. And you can read that grand jury testimony yourself. At the urging of Krischer's prosecutors, the grand jury returned just one count against Epstein, and it is jaw-dropping: solicitation of prostitution, punishable by up to 60 days in jail. How crazy and wrong, an abomination, if you ask me. Disappointed and alarmed, Chief Ryder took the case to federal authorities, and what followed was more shock and awe to the justice system. In 2008, as we've heard, Acosta approved a secret, shameful non-prosecution deal without notifying the survivors, and then sent the case back to Palm Beach County. Epstein was allowed to plead guilty to solicitation of prostitution, solicitation for a minor for prostitution. Really? That was that? And then he got an 18-month sentence, which he served about 13 months, federal immunity from prosecution here in South Florida, immunity for unnamed co-conspirators, and work relief privilege. Listen to this. He had work relief privileges that allowed him to leave the jail each day to continue his systematic sexual exploitation of women and girls. And the most troubling also, a deal was hidden from the public, and the full extent didn't come to light until reporting from the Miami Herald and the Palm Beach Post, who brought the fight to bring the grand jury records into the open. Justice was denied without explanation, and listen, I'm hoping as we move forward, these local prosecutors must be subpoenaed and they must be questioned under oath, because I think they know the secret. So these survivors were abused first by a predator and then failed by a justice system that too often protected wealth and power over vulnerable women and children. And let's be clear, folks, had prosecutors in Florida done their jobs, most likely hundreds of young women might have been spared unimaginable harm. Now, I want to tell you.
Okay, now this part is interesting because we had a completely objective legal analyst take a look at what happened in Florida. And it's pretty interesting what he has to say about what happened. Basically, a X-Man force of attorneys showed up and made it go away.
Everybody, I don't think I was able to tell you exactly why it took so long to have this hearing in Palm Beach County, because I think many of us always believe there are 3 witnesses who have been missing, who must be asked the question, why did Jeffrey Epstein get the deal that he got, and why were the survivors so mistreated in the grand jury room? And those people are Barry Krischer, who was the state attorney, Lana Levick, I don't know if I'm saying that name right, she was one of the prosecutors in that grand jury, and Mary Ann Dugan, who was one of the prosecutors. We need to get to the bottom of this, and my next question really was for you, Mr. Kuvan. Thank you so much for all you've done for the justice system. Can you give us any insight, opinion, why these charges were so watered down? Was it power? Were the attorneys, was the state attorney here? Let's start with Barry Krischer, because he could have stopped it right away, right? Could have stopped it right away. Was he overpowered? Was he sweet-talked? What happened?
I think all of the above. Unfortunately, the system is political here, and he was an elected representative. And after my client went forward to police and the investigation began, we saw a full court press, meaning that Epstein hired his lawyer from Miami, Roy Black. He hired Alan Dershowitz. He hired Mr. Lefkowitz from New York. And they all swarmed into Palm Beach County. And they met with Barry Krischer with all kinds of information that was just an attempt to smear victims. They called them liars. They called them young, prostitutes. As Courtney stated, they were pulling up MySpace pages of these girls. And then they were talking about the parade of horribles that could happen to Mr. Krischer. And they were doing this in the history, unfortunately, of this county. Many may forget that there was a failed prosecution of a rape here in Palm Beach County from one of the Kennedys.
Yes.
And there was a huge publicity problem associated with that on a political basis. And I know that Barry Krischer was aware of that. And I think he saw his career going up in flames if he were to prosecute these. So I think he was looking for an out. And as a result, I think that's why he tanked the grand jury investigation.
Well, what a bad excuse. I think perhaps his career should have gone up in flames, really. I mean, look, taking the personalities out of this, I would suggest not only did the lawyers put pressure on him, but I would assume that he got many phone calls. Is that correct? You want to add to that?
We have no doubt that a number of phone calls were made politically. In fact, Chief Ryder at the time, who I spoke with and in sworn deposition testimony, stated that he, in fact, was so concerned that he asked Mr. Acosta directly, is he a protected informant?
So you mentioned Chief Ryder, because I think it's always good to identify the good guys. And Chief Ryder, who originally brought this case, was appalled with what Krischer was doing here. And ironically, he ended up taking the case to the U.S. attorney, who didn't do much better. What happened there? Was it the same type of pressure?
Yeah, it was even higher pressure at that point, because then Ken Starr got involved as well on Epstein's team, and we all know that name from history. And there were huge amounts of political pressure that were being exerted on the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District at that time. But you're absolutely right. Chief Ryder fought the good fight, and he was so angry at Barry Krischer that he wrote a scathing letter that's in the record now to him, just astounded at the failure of his office to prosecute these claims. And they were looking at the U.S. Attorney's Office to save them, to save the case. And unfortunately, they were just appalled at what they did as well.
Unreal, man. I mean, you ever see that movie, The Rain Man, with Matt Damon?
Matt Damon.
It's based on a Michael Grisham novel.
No, I did see the other one.
Maybe John Grisham.
I've seen Rain
John
Man
Grisham.
with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman.
Okay, it's a story about this kid who gets out of law school, and he's really waking up to like how dirty shit is, like how corrupt everything is. And he's going against this insurance company that has this team of high-powered attorneys, right? And it's like he was so outmatched. It's just not even fair. So when you have like Ken Starr, Dershowitz, who is the other counsel that he mentioned? Wolf, right? Like you have all these guys that have these big time reputations and rumors for being the badasses that could either make or break your career, putting these state, federal employees in check. And that's why we feel like rich people face a different justice system, because they do. Can you hire Ken Starr to get a DA to back off of your case? I bet you can't.
Absolutely not. I can't even get my own grandma to call me back on the holidays.
Exactly. I can't even get my kid to talk to me, man. Yeah. It's a complete joke. And that's what we had going on down there. A rich guy doing what he could do to get himself out of trouble. And boy, did he. I mean, he only had to register as a sex offender in that state. Am I right?
Yeah, and there were certain conditions under it. I don't think I forget what the whole
6
thing
days
was.
a week. He was spending his days at work, at his office, and his personal residence.
To which is the thing, right? Like they dropped him off and then stayed outside. Like they were supposed to
Right.
stay with him, and they were told to stay outside. By like higher ups and shit.
Yeah, or they just kind of get bullied into it, by his own security or something. Like, who knows? But these rich people, they just operate using a separate type of rules. So I think that really does touch on both the Maria Farmer report. We had the FBI just basically ignoring it, hoping it would go away or she would go away. Kind of the same thing going on with this Palm Beach police report, because nobody wanted to face these attorneys that Epstein had hired. We know Maxwell's repeatedly named. That's why she's in prison. But do we know the full story? Fuck no. When
You
Todd
can't
went and
handle the
talked to
full
her-
story.
No, when Todd Blanche went and talked to her, she gave nothing new. Nothing.
Now, what's funny is like they could be saying that truthfully, because the first 10 times around, they probably gave a tremendous amount of evidence that like they didn't really need any more evidence, so yeah, maybe you shouldn't give them anything new, because they all gave them everything they had the first 20 fucking times they tried going to law enforcement with this.
Yeah.
Because it's all double lawyer speak. There's also a reason why a lot of these people refuse to, like, I know Pam Bondi, if she would this is the thing, like if you apologize, you're accepting negligence, so
that's a
their
Trump
like
thing.
yeah, it's like a creepy politician way of like, so you don't get sued, you just don't ever actually apologize,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is creepy. Okay. FBI drafted a major federal indictment based on the Maria Farmer information, and then backed off of it again, and then contacted her again and say they settled it, but it was a secret. The 0708 Non-Prosecution Agreement, I think we can see that is a result of a rich guy hiring a rich team of lawyers, coming into town and overwhelming the local prosecution. That's exactly what they did. Now, we didn't get into the banks and the suspicious activity reports. I know that's something that you've got quite an interest in. What can you tell us so far about banks that filed suspicious activity? I know I mentioned the blood diamonds and some other stuff, but what are some things that you've come across you found interesting with the financial stuff?
Oh man, they're like tied in with everything, because one way or another they're getting money for the spas and the massages and shit like that. Then all of Epstein's ties with the bribes that he's giving out to like the gentleman at Harvard and MIT, and then JPL, like he had a bunch of inside access there, and like a lot of information was stepping outside the intel, like the serious intel channels, like CIA.
Do you think that's where
like,
the weird finances came in?
well, that's where all of it's weird. They're tied into just about every aspect of this stuff, whether it's facilitating bribery and stuff, but like it's vast. and there's millions of files in this shit. So like, I'm trying to find anybody who knows anything about finance that can, I don't know, help me make sense of some.
So
of
we're
this
gonna
shit.
have to put a pin in that and come back, because I feel
Oh
like
yeah, it's big. It's big. I don't even
if
like,
it's
'cause
a big
this,
item, it's a big item. You know what I mean?
yeah,
We don't want to
and
half-ass it.
confusing. You know, like I said, I don't understand how much, like not how much, but like how some of the stuff works. Like I don't know. It's just a lot. It's so much.
It is.
And it's
It
funny
is.
that they're going to say that like there's no actionable intelligence when this is all actionable, and
This
it's
is a
big.
list right here. And this is just a simple list, y'all. This is, again, part 1. This isn't everything. And we can't even get into the financial stuff because it is so like a spider web. To try to present it to you here in 15, 20 minutes would be a disservice to you. You don't tune in to hear nonsense. So we're going to put a pin in the banks filing suspicious activity. We're going to go back to that. And we're going to do some deep diving on that. Earlier complaints before 2005. Now, we know Maria Farmer is in there in 1996. But we also know that Palm Beach police built a report from 05 to 06. So that means they had to be collecting information from victims previous to 2005, right?
Yep.
That's just simple math.
And this is the thing too, like this may not be in the recent file drops, but there were a ton of the school administrators, like girls would be breaking down in class. They would go to their because this is high school, so they'd be going to their the dean or whoever, crying, and they would explain what happened. These people would make a report to the fucking police. The police then would sometimes do nothing, sometimes report it higher up, and then get shushed. So it was really bad, dude. For a while, like in the 90s, like they were getting reported like that whole time.
Okay. Now,
Ooh, I'm gonna have to run just because my shit's
Sure.
about to
I just
die.
got this last thing I want to cover. Thanks for hanging out, buddy, as always.
Oh hell yeah! You know that this is I don't know, man. I feel like we're actually doing more work than the people who should be doing it. So good luck, my friend. Till next time.
We're trying to put the good stuff out there, right? Hoping it helps people. That's the idea. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Always more fun when you're with us. And we'll see you next time. Folks, give it up for Mr. Flak Magnet.
Wee-hoo. All right, peace, dude.
Okay, so we're just going to cover one more thing, and that is the evidence removed before search warrants. All right, and I'm going to cite probably the thing that is most cited when it comes to evidence being removed. The Palm Beach mansion search in 05 and 06, there were later claims by investigators that some evidence had already disappeared by the time the warrants were executed. Now, they didn't just bring this up out of thin air. Former Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ritter has stated publicly that investigators believed items were removed from Epstein's residence before some searches occurred. Ryder has suggested there were concerns that Epstein's legal team had insight into the investigation and that opportunities existed for evidence to be moved or destroyed before law enforcement arrived. Of course, you got this guy that loves playing spy games. He's going to have a team that knows how to get rid of evidence. I would imagine he can afford this stuff. What was reportedly missing? Reportedly, there were phone logs, visitor records, computer data, contact information, and even surveillance materials that were removed from the scene before search warrants could be served. Now, let me find a few quotes here. Investigators, including Palm Beach Chief Michael Ryder, later expressed concerns that important evidence may have been removed before certain searches were conducted. While questions remain about missing records and materials, publicly available evidence does not conclusively establish who removed specific items or when. So we don't know who and we don't know when, but we know it happened. And that's enough for it to be a concern. All right, y'all. That is going to do it for this episode. As I said, we're putting a pin in the financial stuff. I think we're going to have an entire episode dedicated to the crazy financial web that was weaved to support all of this insane activity. Everything from trapping models out of the country that they're from to ordering people in the name of beef jerky. This is a completely out of control group of people. And we know, at least we think we know, Epstein's dead. But clearly there was a demand for what he was doing. And to not pursue any of that is completely irresponsible. So yeah, I don't expect this video to get a ton of views, but for those of you that watch it, I hope you get something out of it, and I hope you spread the message that this is not right, and this is not a psyop. This is a disservice to our justice system, a disservice to the victims. This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed that this is the best our justice system could do when it came to saving children. Wow. All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Like I said, we're going to get some more research together for you, and we're going to go over some more stuff on our next episode. We hope to see you there. Thank you all for leaving the comments and hanging out with us. We will see you next time on the Gabriel Speaks podcast. Have a great night, everyone.